The wounded and delirious Hiju starts thinking about her past as she loses consciousness. She remembers the day in her childhood when her mom was driving her and her step-siblings when a truck hit them. Her stepbrother died in that accident, and Aina lost her hearing, but since Hiju was in the middle, she was unharmed. After that, her mother forces her to act like she lost her voice to get her stepfather's sympathy so he won't kick them out of the house. Hiju asks her past self to tell her mom that she doesn't want to keep acting all her life, but she can't do anything since it is just a memory. Hiju breaks down and starts crying, thinking about how she could never speak for herself when suddenly she hears Sayeon's voice. He comes towards her, calling her name, and that brings her back to her senses. She starts remembering how he was the only one who cared for her and came running to save her whenever she was in trouble. She loses consciousness just as Sayeon spots her, and he frantically carries her on his back. Hiju keeps thinking about him in her sleep and wakes up with tears running down her face. Saeon is completely rattled still, and he tells Hiju that he will call a doctor for her immediately. However, she grabs his hand and speaks to him for the first time in forever, asking him to not leave her. Saeon finds it hard to believe that she spoke to him, and he immediately sits beside her, promising that he won't go anywhere. Soon, the news about someone from the hiking group falling reaches Sayeon's dad, and while he just angrily dismisses it because it has no relation with his presidential campaign, his assistant suggests that they can make this incident political by saying that his rivals tried to attack his son. The scumbag likes this idea, and he tells his assistant to start working on the script immediately. On the other hand, as Hiju undergoes treatment at a hospital, she realizes that she spoke in front of Saeon. She believes that he obviously knew that the whole time and had figured out that she was calling him disguised as the kidnapper, but now he has definite proof. She thinks that as soon as she is discharged from the hospital, Saeon will divorce her and then kick her out of the house, also making her pay 2 billion won for breaching their contract. At the same time, Saeun is meeting with Jin, who tells him that they couldn't find any security footage of the attacker on the hiking trail, and the police is taking statements from everyone on the crime scene. In the meantime, Jin has also examined the modified phone Hiju was using, and he tells Saeun that it has some hacking software that allowed the kidnapper to track the location at all times. He believes that they can use the same program to learn the kidnapper's location, and Sahil asks him to immediately start working on it. Soon a nurse brings Hiju to her private room, where Saeun is already waiting for her. As soon as the nurse leaves, Saeun asks Hiju if she will stop speaking once again. She doesn't say anything, so he just lifts her up and places her on the bed, and then tucks her in. After that, he sits next to her, saying that it is fine even if she doesn't speak to him because he knew about that for a long time. He still acts like he thinks that the fake kidnapper is someone else and not Hiju, which confuses her. Saeon says that the fake kidnapper may have pushed her, but he helped him find her too. This dumb girl really believes that and opens her mouth to tell him the truth, but Saeon tells her to just rest for some days. He has to go somewhere, so he gives her a new phone and asks her to call him if she needs anything. Once Saeon leaves, Hiju fiddles with her bag and finds the modified phone there. This Delulu dummy wonders if Saeon didn't really find this phone, and then thinks that how she wanted to use it to get away from him, but this phone brought them closer instead. Meanwhile, Saeon's father, Yong, holds a press conference, saying that the recent accident with Saeon's teammate when they were out hiking was most likely an act of political terrorism, and he urges for a thorough investigation of the matter. This creates lots of waves in the media, and Saeon's office starts receiving dozens of calls to ask for more information. As everyone is getting pressed by questions, Saeon comes there and disconnects the cable, telling his team to divert any questions by saying that everything will be answered at the press release tomorrow. He asks the guy named Park to prevent Hiju's information from being leaked, but he suddenly gets sentimental, saying that Saeun is not doing the right thing by keeping everything a secret because the rest of the staff is also worried about Hiju. Saeun assures him that she is fine, and then gets busy with work. Aina and Hiju's mother meet, asks why, says not to take Saeun from Hiju, but to help her make own decisions. The letter before marriage day. Saeon's secrets, thinks Hiju's mom sent, but not. Soon Saeon goes to meet his father, who is quite happy with the sympathy he is getting after his press stint. Saeon tells him to stop stirring up things if he doesn't want them to be properly shot down by him, and Yang calls him an ungrateful brat. He reminds him that he was not their real son and an adopted orphan, but all Saeon has are bad memories with his family. He tells Yang that he didn't ask for his family name or wealth, and he should stop shoving it down his throat all the time. Ning decides to change the topic and asks about the person who fell, and when Sayuri finally says that it was Hiju, he is shocked. He asks Sayuri if he lost his mind to hire his secret wife, but Sayuri just says that he must be jealous because Hee-ju got into the presidential office before he could. On the other hand, Sang-woo and Yuri are working on the case about the abductions at the orphanage where Sang-woo grew up. At first he thought that only 3 kids went missing, but now he has learned that a 4th kid went missing too, and he has a twin brother. He thinks that the twin brother can give him some leads, and decides to remember everything he can about the case. Later that night, Hee-ju receives a text from Sa-yeon asking if she wants to eat anything. He refuses to bring the things she wants because they are spicy or greasy, and in the end brings her some fruits along with the essentials for her stay at the hospital. To Hee-ju's surprise, Sa-yeon has brought his clothes as well, because he is going to stay with her at the hospital. She panics, saying that there is no place for him to sleep, but Sa-yeon tells her that they slept together last night too. Hee-ju is completely flustered now, wondering what he means and where is he going to sleep tonight. However, there are more moments for them to get close before that. Sa-yeon washes Hee-ju's hair gently and then dries them, which makes her feel awkward. She asks him why is he being so nice to her now, and he replies that he feels regretful for not being nicer to her earlier. After that, he tucks her in the bed and then goes to take a shower, and Hee-ju's heartbeat rises as she starts fantasizing about what is going to happen next. When Sa-yeon comes out of the shower, she pretends to be asleep, and he leans in close to her. She thinks he will kiss her now, but when he just uses the remote to lower the inclination on her bed, she opens her eyes in surprise. Sa-yeon tells her to go to sleep, and then begins reading some books on the couch. Hee-ju falls asleep soon, and when she wakes up, Sa-eun is not in the room. She calls him, but he doesn't pick up, and texts her that he is waiting for another call. Hee-ju sees that it is 10 p.m. and realizes that she has to call Sa-eun as the fake kidnapper now. She calls him, and Sa-eun thanks her for leading him to his wife on the day of the accident. She is about to reveal the truth, but now Sa-eun wants to play games with her. He says that he already knows a lot about the fake kidnapper, including the facts that she is a woman in her mid-20s. He asks if she is pretty, and Hee-ju is suddenly taken aback. Sa-eun starts flirting with her, and that makes Hee-ju jealous because she believes that Sa-eun is thinking of someone else right now. Then suddenly, Sa-yeon changes the topic and asks her to join him in finding the real attacker because he wants to pay him back. For that, he asks her to reveal everything she knows about the kidnapper without leaving any single detail. After the call, Hee-ju begins to take a walk around the hospital, and as she sees some patients watching a drama where the husband is cheating on her wife, she begins imagining herself and Seon in the scene. However, the show abruptly changes for an urgent news report being delivered by Yuri. She reads the official stance of the presidential office that affirms that the recent hiking accident was indeed an attack targeted at Sa-yeon, but it was not political in nature. He tells people to stop speculating about it, and also displays the sketch of the masked kidnapper that he got made thanks to Hee-ju's help earlier. That is not all, because Yuri reports more things Hee-ju had told about the kidnapper to Sa-yeon earlier, like how his eyes are slightly different in colors, he has a fishy smell, and he stutters when he gets excited. There were more details like how the kidnapper seemed to have an accomplice who planned out everything for him, and Sa-yeon tells that to the police when he makes a report. After that, he goes to meet his parents and his father-in-law, and he tells both of them that he didn't inform them about this earlier because he suspected them. The news reaches the kidnapper too, and he gets furious as he sees his face on the TV. He immediately texts his partner, accusing him of pushing Hee-ju and putting the blame on him instead. His partner says that since Hee-ju doesn't want to divorce Sa-yeon, he wanted him to feel the pain of losing something precious in other ways. However, since Hee-ju survived, he decides to go back to their original plan, and for that, meanwhile, Hee-ju is in her room, wondering why did Sa-yeon make such a bold and careless move that put his image at risk. Suddenly, she gets a call and text from an unknown number that turns out to be the real kidnapper, who tells her that he wasn't the one who pushed her. He then says that he is here for his phone and tells her that he is at her door to take it. Hee-ju panics and immediately locks the door, hiding in fear, but when she hears Seoji's voice, she realizes that she is safe. Seoji rips apart the door, and Hee-ju immediately hugs him. Once she is calm, Sain tells her that she should rest now, but she holds his hand, asking if he is not afraid that everyone is talking about him and nasty rumors have started to spread. Sain gently slides into the bed and puts his arm around her, telling her that he is not afraid and he doesn't regret putting himself in the spotlight to protect her. He asks her to sleep peacefully, but Hee-ju just pretends to fall asleep, and when the clock is about to strike 10, she sneaks out of the room to call him. She asks if he wants the phone she has because it is important evidence, and Sa-yeon agrees. Hee-ju says that she is coming to him right now to give the phone, and as she walks towards the room, she wonders, how will Sa-yeon react when he sees that she was the fake kidnapper all along? However, she has decided to stop running from the truth and come clean once and for all. She anxiously enters the room, but Sa-eon is not there. She calls him, asking where is he, and he tells her to meet him at another location instead. So Hee-ju goes to the location, which turns out to be the same amusement park that she visited with her family on the day of the accident. Sa-eon calls her and tells her to head into the rides. As Hee-ju enjoys the rides and ice cream arranged for her by Sa-eon, she recalls the day she visited the park in the past, and how it was the last day she was truly happy. Blink number 6. Sa-eon's soul within her. Sa-eon then calls her to the tower, and once Hee-ju reaches there, she calls him again, saying that he will be upset and disappointed on seeing her in person. However, Sa-eon comes there just then, telling her to be more confident in herself. Hee-ju drops her phone as she sees him right in front of him, and seeing how he doesn't react, she realizes that he knew the truth. With tears in her eyes, she asks him why didn't he hate her when he knew everything, and Sa-eon asks her how could he not love her. He gently wipes her tears and then kisses her softly. That was what both of them had wanted to do for a very long time. And they keep at it for a long time too. Episode 8. The next morning they are back at their home, and Sa-eon prepares breakfast for Hee-ju. He tells her that they should spend more time together from now on, and she starts bringing up all the things they should have done as normal couples already. Sa-eon teases her, asking if she is so desperate to be close to him, and then tells her that even though their relationship was cold, he felt a certain sense of relief and belonging whenever he came home, knowing that Hee-ju would be there. Hee-ju says that he should have said that to her sooner, and he says that at first their marriage was just because of a contract, and he didn't want her to force herself to grow close to him. Hee-ju asks her what was his plan that he talked about on the day of their marriage, and Sa-eon says that he will tell her when the right time comes. That reminds Hee-ju that she has not yet told him about the threatening messages from the kidnapper, and Sa-eon assures her that he will catch him soon. Hee-ju suggests that they give the modified phone to the police so that they can find the kidnapper quickly, but Sa-eon is against that idea. He says that he will deal with this issue himself, and asks her not to worry about anything. He then keeps the phone with him, telling Hee-ju that it was fun when she was role-playing the kidnapper. He suddenly asks her where is the lingerie she sent a picture of earlier, and as he tries to look for it, Hee-ju accidentally hugs him while stopping him. Sa-eon puts both her hands around him, and then Hee-ju asks how could he accept her after all the secrets she has kept from him. Sa-eon turns around and hugs her, wondering if she will be able to accept him once his secrets are out. On the other hand, the kidnapper is drinking after failing to get back the phone from Hee-ju. Earlier, when he was about to go to Hee-ju's room, Sa-eon entered the hospital, fouling his plans. He somehow snuck in while helping an old man carry some accessories and got close enough to Sa-eon to feel even more jealous of him. And they raped Sa-eon. The next morning, Hee-ju wakes up from a dream that Sa-ex has vanished from her life after learning her secrets. As soon as she gets up, she rushes to his room to see if he is still there and finds him sleeping soundly. She sits next to him and starts caressing his face, which wakes him up. Hee-ju tries to run away, but he just pulls her into the bed and then hugs her tightly. She asks if he is not going to work today, and he tells her that he took a day off. He asks her if she wants to do anything today, and she begins telling him how she has always dreamed of doing things like normal couples. Sa-eon hugs her tightly, saying that they should try doing that now, but then suddenly he gets a call from Park, calling him to office urgently. On the other hand, Sa-eon's dad is surrounded by reporters as he enters his office, and they ask him about Sa-eon's statements. Suddenly, a bunch of people come there wielding decorative placards that are from the kidnapper, who claims to know about a dark secret of Sa-eon. Unaware of this, Sa-eon goes to his office to find that his subordinates have thrown a party of sorts under Park's guidance to lighten his mood. Sa-eon is really furious because this dimwit interrupted the quality time with his wife for this, but before he can fire him, Jin comes there running. He tells Sa-eon the location of the kidnapper that he found from reversing the codes on the modified phone, and Sa-eon tells him that he did a great job. He decides to go to the location alone because it has some connection to his past. While he is driving, his reporter friend, Hyuk, sends him the pictures of the placards and then calls him, asking if he knows anything about this. At the same time, Hee-ju's mom visits her, accusing Ina of being behind the attack on her life. Hee-ju doesn't even want to talk to her, and then she gets a message from the kidnapper saying that she should know the truth about her husband. The message has a video that seems irrelevant, but it confuses Hee-ju. Just then, she gets a text from Sang-woo, who is volunteering in the orphanage and got reminded of Hee-ju by the caretaker there. Hee-ju thinks that he can help her, so she asks to meet him. She goes to the orphanage and asks about the case of missing children he has been investigating lately. Meanwhile, Sa-eon is really close to them, inspecting an old house run over by vines just behind the orphanage. He suddenly hears a voice from upstairs, so he goes there to find a projector playing the same video Hee-ju received on her phone. After the video of the show ends, a message tells Saeun that he is the killer. Suddenly the video resumes, and the small newsline talks about the missing orphans case. Sometime later, Sung-woo drives Hee-ju to the same house, which he believes is the place where all the kids went missing from, and he is surprised to see the gate open because no one lives there. He then asks Hee-ju why she wanted to know about the case, and then reminds Hee-ju that when he met Saeun in the past, he seemed interested about it too. Sung-woo says that they should visit it again because it is night now, but just as they are leaving, Saeun spots them. He chases after them and calls Hee-ju, who decides to ignore the call. Sung-woo tells her to pick it up because he knows that she can talk. Hee-ju is completely dumbfounded by this, but then suddenly, Saeun catches up with them, and he honks at Sung-woo before making him stop his car. He angrily gets out of his car and Sung-woo tries to stop Hee-ju from leaving, thinking that Saeun is dangerous. However, she goes with him, despite that, and then the two men have a heated confrontation. Sung-woo asks Saeun what is his relationship with Hee-ju, and in return he asks him how much has he discovered about missing orphan cases. He tells Sung-woo to stop digging into it immediately, because he doesn't trust him. Footnote. He says that the threatening calls and kidnappings all started as soon as he met Hee-ju and then leaves, leaving Sung-woo confused about the last part. Meanwhile, Saeun asks Hee-ju why did she come to the house, and she shows him the video sent by the kidnapper. Saeun stops the car and goes outside, asking Hee-ju why did she ask Sang-woo about it and not him. She says she knows how it is like to keep a secret, and she wanted to run away before Saeun found she was calling him. Hee-ju says that she was afraid that he would also run away if she found his secret, and she didn't want to lose him. She breaks into tears, saying she has been anxious that she might lose him ever since she woke up, and Saeun hugs her, asking what can he do to make her believe that he won't leave her. She asks him to reveal his secrets so they are even, but Saeun doesn't want to do that and he just hugs her, saying that if he loses everything tomorrow, she would be the only thing he doesn't want to lose. On the other hand, Ina meets with her dad, who is angry about her coming back so suddenly. However, she is not intimidated by him and asks why did he let her go away so easily on the day of the marriage. She believes that something is wrong, and based on the letters she received before her marriage, Saeun is not the biological son of his parents. She thinks that their families have cut some secret deal with each other, and also asks about the accident that made her lost her hearing. Her father was really frantic and passionate about finding the culprit behind it, but then he abruptly stopped. She asks what made him stop, but he refuses to tell her anything, and instead informs her about the kidnapper, who knows the truth about her and Hee-ju. On the other hand, Saeun's parents are giving an interview to Yuri to get sympathy from the public, and his mom decides to put her acting skills to use and sheds a couple tears, telling Saeun that she will protect him like she used to protect him in the past. But she doesn't tell anyone that she used to lock him up in a room while he cried and banged the door. The next day, Hee-ju and Sang-woo return to their jobs. Sang-woo gives a report about international relations, but the reporters are more curious about his personal life. He decides to take their questions but doesn't answer anything, and then decides to recruit them to his cause. He shows them the video that the kidnapper sent him, and tells them to make sense of it because he also doesn't understand what is it about. He says that the reporter who finds this will get an exclusive interview with him, and that gets everyone fired up. This worries his teammates, and Park throws a full tantrum about Saeun's recent reckless actions in the office when he gets a call from an old man in a fishing store saying that he has some information to give to Saeun. When Saeun returns to his office, Park gives him the message from the old man, which is just 2 words. That was the entire message, and when Park tried searching for the number, it turned out to be from a shop called Jong Fishing Supplies. This is where Jong was first met Young. Saeun immediately drives to the location of the store, because that is deeply connected to his past. Turns out that the old man who owns the shop is the man who raised him before he was adopted by his new family. As for the boy who is still alive, Saeun believes that he is the one whom he saw being drowned by an old man one night. The next day, he did believe that he was the one whom he saw drowned too. Saeun reaches the fishing store and finds that it is on fire. He breaks in and finds the old man unconscious, and as he tries to take him to safety, an explosion knocks him down. Soon the entire shop is covered in flames, and Saeun lies there unconscious. At the same time, as Hee-ju is waiting for Saeun to return home, she has a guest in the form of Ina. Hee-ju asks her why did she come back, and Ina says that she should ask why she left first. She gives her the DNA report stating that Saeun is not his parent's son to Hee-ju, saying this is why she refused to marry him. Hee-ju is not at all fazed by this, much to Ina's surprise. She tells Heeju that even though she was forced to marry Sa-eon in her place, she doesn't have to be fooled now, and promises to find all the secrets. She starts to leave, but Heeju suddenly speaks up, saying that it was her choice to marry Sa-eon. Ina is pleasantly surprised to hear her voice, and she tells Heeju that even though she hated her mom, she liked having her as her little sister. Heeju gets awkward and asks Ina where did she get the report. She has no clue, but it was not from her family, and she believes that it was sent by someone who didn't want the marriage between her family and Saon's family to go through. One way or another, talks occur, and as the drama continues around them, Jeju's father eventually leaves. On the other side, Sayeon finally wakes up and carries the old man on his shoulders again. The old man wakes up and tells Sayeon that he should not be here because the kidnapper is looking for him, and then suddenly, the burning rubble falls on top of them. Meanwhile, Heeju keeps calling Saeon and panics when he doesn't pick up. She calls the police to report that he is missing, but when they ask for her name and her husband's name, she ends the call. She remembers talking with Ina about how they first saw Saeon when he was 15, which was surprising since they were neighbors for a long time. Ina concluded that Saeon's parents must have had a biological son, and they replaced him with the current Saeon when he was 15. So Heeju decides to go to his parents' house and suddenly speaks in front of them, telling them that Saeon is missing and they need to report that to the police. Both of them are dumbfounded to hear her talk, and they send away the secretary before talking more. Heeju reveals that she knows that Saeon is not their biological son, and while Young tries to shut her down, Kyojin accepts that Saeon is just a replacement, just like she is a replacement for Ina. Heeju says that Saeon is important and useful to them, so they must find out about him, and they get their secretary Min to check if there are any reports about him till now. Min contacts Peter and asks him to go to London, where his father is staying. Since there are none, Saeun's mom tells Haeju to go away, and as she is outside, Secretary Min comes running to her, asking how much does Saeun know about the kidnapper, and telling her some more details. He says that Saeun had different colored eyes too, but he underwent surgery to change that. Min says Saeun was always scared and timid when he came to this house, and he always felt sorry for him. Saeun, as Heeju is crying, thinking about this in the car, she suddenly gets a call from Sangwoo, telling her that Sa-woo is in a hospital. She immediately rushes there and starts speaking to Sangwoo without even realizing it. She asks where is Sa-woo and if he is fine, and he assures her that he is safe. She sees his burnt jacket and asks what happened, and he tells her that he went to the old man Jung to ask about the missing orphans case, but as soon as he heard about it, he kicked him out of the house in fear. He drove away, but as he saw Sa-eon driving to the same location as well, he chased him and found the fire. He brought out both the men from the fire, and right now, Sa-eon is undergoing operation. Heeju thanks him and Sangwoo gives her Sa's phone, saying he could see her number ringing on it constantly. She apologizes for keeping secrets from him, and just then the doctor comes out, saying that the operation was successful, but Sa-eon is still unconscious. Soon Sa-eon is also brought outside, and Heeju accompanies him to his hospital room, watching over him the entire night. On the other hand, the kidnapper is butchering fish at his base when he gets a text from his partner, or rather, his boss. He asks him if he was the one who set Jung's store on fire, and reminds him that he has already warned him plenty of times not to take reckless action alone. He says that it would ruin their plans if Saul died, and says this is his last warning, but the kidnapper is surprised that Saul was even there. Meanwhile, the unconscious Sa-eon dreams about his past, when he used to help Jung, whom he considered his father, in the store, and one day a rich man came there with a boy his age and gave him a black bag. That night, Sa-eon heard the sound of someone drowning and found the same old man drowning the boy. Jung sent him inside immediately, but that scene was enough to scar him for life. Soon, the old man came there and cornered Sa-eon, telling him that the boy he just drowned was a psychopathic monster who killed their pets and then even some kids. He says that such a disgusting monster should not have been born as his grandson, but now that he is no more, he needs someone else to take his place. That is how Sa-eon got his name and became the old man's grandson, but alongside that, he got trauma to last him a lifetime. As he wakes up now, he sees Heeju's face over him. She is relieved to see him awake and goes to call the doctor, but he holds his hand till she assures him that he is fine. After that, Heeju leaves to call the doctor and runs into Sangwoo on the way out. He decides to pay Sayuan a visit too and informs him that this his father's clinic, so his privacy will be protected. Sayuan asks him about the man with him, and Sangwoo shows that he is receiving intensive care. Sangwoo asks about his relationship with the man, and he replies that he raised him. Sangwoo then asks about Heeju, and San says that she is his only family. Sang-woo asks why doesn't he reveal her to the world then, and San says that because his dark secrets are about to be revealed to the world soon, and he doesn't want Hee-ju to be dragged through the mud because of him. He then thanks Sang-woo for saving him and apologizes for getting him wrong earlier, and Sang-woo walks back to Hee-ju. He asks him to save Jung at all costs because he is an important witness and has already revealed that the culprit behind the missing orphans and the recent kidnapping and blackmailing is the same person, and he is still alive. Later, Saeon checks his phone and finds that he has dozens of messages and missed calls from Hee-ju, but he learns from the nurse that she is not outside his room right now. Hee-ju is back at home right now, looking for the modified phone. She ignores all of Saeon's calls to find it, and then decides to hand it over to the police, because she can't let Saeon take any more risks like this. However, he somehow reaches the police station just in time and stops Hee-ju from turning the phone in. He asks her what the hell is she doing, and she tells him that she knows his secret now. She says that she doesn't want him to bear the burden alone and wants to protect him, but Saeon says that he doesn't want her to take any risks. He says that she was the reason he could keep living after he was adopted, and he doesn't want to put her in danger. He hugs her, and then Hee-ju tells him that it doesn't matter to her what his backstory is, and she is happy to know more about him. On the other hand, Young has another media stint to boost his popularity, where he is preparing breakfast for his wife. The media asks him if Sa-young will not join them today, and he says that he is always busy, so he won't join them, but he has another guest that is just as special, and that is Ina. Everyone is shocked to see Ina, as Young introduces her as his daughter-in-law. They begin cooking together, and Sa-yeon's adoptive mother, Kyo-jin, is surprised by when did Ina contact her husband. Suddenly, Ina looks at the family cutout and starts talking about how Sa-yeon doesn't resemble his parents. She's about to reveal the truth, when suddenly the doorbell rings and some clams arrive for the breakfast show. Young eagerly opens the box, but to his horror, he finds a bunch of dead fish, butchered and sewn together in the box. He is so shocked that he throws the box on the ground, and his wife runs to the gate, realizing that this must have been done by her biological son. She finds the delivery guy leaving on a bike and chases after him. On the other hand, Yuri is getting ready for a show when she gets Sung-hoo's call and suddenly rushes to meet him. She is shocked to see him injured, and he tells her that it is a long story. She takes him to eat lunch while he shares the story and spits out her food when she hears about a fire. She asks him for details, but he says that it involves someone else's private life, so he can't share it. Yuri suddenly tells him that he should stop digging into this case because the higher-ups are pressuring them not to air it, almost as if someone is trying to cover things up. At the same time, Hee-ju takes Sa-eung back to the hospital and lays next to him to comfort him. She asks how did he find her, and he shows her the location-sharing app that shows her location all times. He says that he got too anxious after the hiking accident and wanted to keep a close eye on her. Hee-ju says that she gets anxious too and asks him to give her the app too. Sa-eon says that if he ever goes missing and doesn't contact her, she should not try to look for him and just wait till he finds her instead. He says that he knows who the kidnapper is now and he will deal with him accordingly. They go to rest with that, but just then, Sa-eon gets a call from Sang-woo, telling him that Jung is awake now. Sa-eun goes to meet him, and the old man tells him that it is his fault that the attacker is alive. He says that on the fateful day, the old man had given him the task to dispose of the boy, but he was still alive, and Jung couldn't bring himself to kill him. The boy lost his memories from drowning, so Jung started to raise him quietly, but the violent psychopathic tendencies remain the same. Sa-eun asks Jung where are the black bags that the old man asked him to take care of, because he wants to find them and expose the entire truth to the world. And Yujin has reached the house behind the orphanage, following the kidnapper, and there, she meets her son that she thought was dead all these years. The next day, there is an important conference on the World Climate Day, and Sa-eun gets ready to attend it. As Hee-ju is helping him get ready, he gets a call from Park, who somehow found which hospital Sa-eun was in and came to give him his script, with the entire staff. Sa-eun meets everyone outside the door and fends against Park's attempts to enter the room to protect Hee-ju. Soon, the event starts, and Hee-ju gets to live her dream to translate Seon's speech live in front of the whole world. And the story continues to the point where leading up to the final day, the audience memory is strong. After that, Seon leaves for another place, but he has a call from reporter Hyuk, telling him that he couldn't find anything about the missing orphans case, but he found that one of the missing kids had a twin brother, and they may be able to get a testimony from him. After hearing that, Seon heads to the location where Jung told him he buried the black bags. He reaches the mountainside and finds 4 makeshift graves surrounded by flowers, and remembers that despite looking big and rough, Jung was always a gentle soul. At the same time, Jin escorts Heeju home on Seon's orders. Meanwhile, Saeon gets a call from Hyuk, telling him that he got access to the police records to learn about the twins, and he sends the identity paper of the surviving twin to Saeon, and to his utter shock, it is the Jin. Saeon immediately calls Jin, but he doesn't pick up. He is in a grassy field with Heeju lying unconscious in his car because he gave her drugged water. Saeon calls Heeju next, and when she doesn't pick up either, he gets worried for her. Episode 10. On the other hand, Jin tells the kidnapper that he has Heeju and asks him to meet at his hideout because Saeon will be there too. The kidnapper eagerly waits for him, and Jin comes there soon with a steel bat in hand. He attacks the kidnapper because now he knows his truth. He had been manipulating him from the shadows the entire time, thinking that Seon was the one who killed his twin brother. But last night, when he went to Chun's store before Seon, he found the kidnapper threatening Jung. The old man told him that it was his grandfather who tried to kill him, so he shouldn't hold it against Saeon. But the kidnapper told him that Saeon has been living the life he was supposed to and knocked him out. Now that Heeju knows the truth, he attacks the kidnapper, but he overpowers him and beats him instead. The kidnapper then takes him to the pond and starts to drown him in the water, and by the time Saeon reaches there, everything is quiet. He tries looking for Heeju, and when he sees a black bag on the boat, he gets worried that he is too late. He reaches the boat and opens the bag to find that it is Jin inside it instead. Saeon wakes up the bloodied Jin and asks him where the hell is Heeju. He tells him that the kidnapper is here, and suddenly, Saeon hears the sound of a car revving. The kidnapper tries to drive away with Heeju, and as Saeon chases after the car, calling Heeju's name, she wakes up. She pulls the kidnapper's hair, causing him to crash the car and gets out to hug Saeon. The kidnapper tries to reverse the car on them, but misses and hits another bump instead. Saeon takes him out and tells him that if he wants his name in place, he can have it, but the kidnapper laughs, asking if he will give him Heeju too. Saeon gets angry and punches him, but the kidnapper pulls out a knife and tries to stab him. Just then, Jin comes there and tackles the kidnapper, but gets stabbed while doing that. The kidnapper laughs as he runs away, and Saeon tries to stop the bleeding as Heeju calls the emergency services. Jin tells Saeon that he stayed close to him and tried to harm him because he thought he was the one who killed his brother. He kept listening to the calls of the modified phone, and he was also the one who pushed Heeju off the cliff. Heeju tells him that Saeon didn't do anything, and Jin suddenly feels like he wasted his entire life trying to hurt a good man. Suddenly, he loses his consciousness and it starts raining. As the police comes there, Saeon begins recalling how he met Jin a few years ago, and he became his right-hand man soon due to his diligence. He tells Heeju that he entrusted everything to Jin, and she tells him that it was not his fault that things turned out like this. On the other hand, the kidnapper is back at his base and he laughs as he looks in the mirror, thinking that a lot of idiots have been coming at him like they have a death wish. Just yesterday it was his biological mother who was deeply emotional on meeting him again, because all these years she thought that he had died. She told him that she didn't want to lose him again, but just then Young came there with his bodyguards. His mother tried to protect him and got tased instead, and the kidnapper fought against the guards and ran away, swearing to give his dead grandpa the show of his lifetime soon. The next day, news about Jin's involvement in threatening Saeon is made public, and police starts investigating his hideout. Saeon's adoptive parents watch the news anxiously as it hampers the presidential race, and they call him, but he doesn't pick up. He is in the hospital, where Jin is awake, but he is refusing to cooperate with the police. Saeon goes to meet him, telling him to atone for his sins and cooperate with the police for a lighter sentence, and Jin lashes at him, saying that he doesn't trust him yet. Saeon tells him that he always trusted him and didn't doubt him even for a moment, and he wants Jin to start trusting him now. Soon, the investigation about the murders committed by the kidnapper in the past is started in earnest. As the police dig up the buried corpses, Sang-woo tells Yuri the summary of the case in a cafe. She is really excited and shocked to learn that Sang-woo learnt so many secrets about Saeon, and she thinks that he trusts him. She asks him to get close to him and call him right away to ask if he is fine, but coincidentally, Saeon calls Sang-woo first, telling him that they have found solid evidences about the missing orphans. They immediately go to the police station, where Sang-woo identifies the belongings of the dead people and gets emotional while recalling them. Later, he thanks Yuri for sticking with him the whole time and helping him out of the gloominess with her cheerful personality. On the other hand, Heeju tells Ning that the kidnapper is actually the real Saeon, and now he is back for revenge. Ningju starts to make sense of this fact and remembers that once she saw her younger brother crying after being bullied by a boy. At first she thought he was Saeon, but when they met Saeon for the first time, he was much taller, so she thought she was mistaken. She also remembers that the accident that killed her brother was soon after that incident as well, and the original Seon must have vanished around the same time. Ina believes that it was not an accident, but Seon's family was behind it, because her brother had seen the face of the one they were desperately hiding. Just then, Heeju's mom comes there, and she is surprised to see Ina there. She asks if she is here to take Heeju's position as Seon's wife, and Ina just laughs at her and decides to leave. Heeju's mom then starts berating her, asking her about the fuss about the kidnapper and saying that she should have married her to the son of the construction company instead of Seon if she was never going to be the president's daughter-in-law. Heeju suddenly speaks up to her, and her mom is surprised because she didn't think she would ever open her mouth. She tells her mom to stop gaslighting her by acting like she was thinking about her when she made her decisions. Heeju says that she thought that if she kept obeying her mother, she would eventually love her. But now that she has experienced what true love is like, she has realized that her mother never loved her, and she will never do that in future as well. Her mother is taken aback by this and leaves the house furiously, and as Ina is comforting Heeju, she suddenly gets an idea about who might have sent her the DNA report before the marriage. Soon, Seon returns home, and he is surprised to see candles lit everywhere. Suddenly, Heeju comes out wearing the dress he bought for her, and then pushes him on the couch, handing him their renewed wedding vows. She tells him that they will have to make their relationship public eventually. He cannot initiate a divorce, and if he tries that, he will have to pay her $2 million. Seon is confused about that, and then Heeju asks him if he was the one who sent Ina the DNA report before the wedding day. She shows him his texts to Ina on the day, where he is asking her about Heeju's potential marriage to the son of the construction company, and after he gets the confirmation, he tells Ina that he will marry Heeju instead of her. Heeju says that now she has realized that she was never the replacement for Ina, but the one Seon really wanted to marry. She asks him if he will marry her properly once everything is over. Seon gets emotional and refuses, saying that he will propose to her properly once everything is over, and then kisses her. The next day, the police officer gives Jin some pictures of his dead brother's belongings, and he breaks down on seeing them. After that, he gets a visit from Seon, and he finally agrees to help him catch the real culprit behind everything. He gives up his passwords to the police so that they can enter his elaborate monitoring systems that he used to spy on Seon and the kidnapper, and they find his location using one of the trackers. Meanwhile, Heeju and Ina go to meet their dad to tell him about the developments in the case. The man is not at all fazed when he hears Heeju talk, and Ina laughs, realizing that her shrewd dad knew about her being able to speak all along. He tells them that it is not important right now, and asks the girls to reveal the culprit. Before that, they ask him why did he stop his search for the man who hit their car and killed their little brother, and he begins thinking of one rainy night in the past. He was holding a gun to Seon's grandfather, because he found that he was the one who hired the truck driver to hit his family's car. However, the old man was a godlike manipulator, and he told Ina's dad that he had invested billions of won in his political campaign, and if he kills him now, he will lose that money. He then told him that he had killed his own grandson to make up for his son's death, and promised to owe him the debt of a lifetime in exchange of burying the case. Now that Ina's dad learns that the old man's grandson is still alive, he drives straight to their home with a shotgun and shoots the old man's portrait right in the middle of his death anniversary ceremony. Yang gets furious at this and asks what the hell is he doing, but Ina's dad points his gun at him, asking him to hand over the monster he gave birth to so that he can kill him with his own hands. The atmosphere is tense, and luckily, Heeju has texted Seon to come to the location beforehand. The police also find the kidnapper's location, and they head to find him, unaware that he is at Seon's parents' home right now, and his mom knows this, but she has not told anyone. Suddenly, an explosion rocks the building, and everyone starts running out in panic as fire starts spreading. Seon reaches the house just then and sees people running out frantically. He goes inside and runs into Ina on the way, telling him that she lost Heeju in the smoke. Seon rushes inside to find her when suddenly, he gets a call from the kidnapper, telling him that Heeju is with him, and he is going to kill her soon. He has a knife on her neck, while she drives a car, and the kidnapper tells Seon that he will make him feel the same despair and hopelessness he felt when he was drowning. He says, quote, "It felt like you were drowning in the ocean." Seon sees Heeju's location in his phone and gets in his car, telling her that he is coming to save her. Heeju, however, tells him that he doesn't need to come because this time, she is going to save him. She begins crying as she tells him to remember that she loves him, and then presses the accelerator fully, throwing the kidnapper off his balance. She tells him that she will make sure he doesn't torment her Seon again, and then drives off a cliff at full speed. The call cuts with that, and Sa'on is left devastated. Soon, the car is found crashed near the river below the cliff, but the passengers are nowhere to be found. Hyuk reports this news live and tells the world that it was Sa'on's wife who was driving the car after she was kidnapped. A better sketch of the kidnapper is also released in the media, but there are no reports. Later, Sa'on also calls a press conference to clear his stance. He first tells everyone that he is not the real son of the presidential candidate, and Sa'on is not even his real name. Then he moves on to tell them about his wife who was kidnapped and nearly breaks down as he tells everyone about Heju and requests their cooperation to find her. Everyone who hears this news is shocked and emotional, and Sa'on once again asks everyone to help him locate her. A couple days earlier, when Heju drove off the cliff, Sa'on drove to the location as soon as he got the call from the police officer. They could not find the car quickly because of how fast it was going and how steep the cliff was, and soon, Heju's family came there. They were worried sick about her, and then Young came there too. Heju's adoptive dad began fighting with him for betraying them and keeping their real son alive, but Ina told them that there was no point in fighting now because neither of them have cared for their children this entire time. While they were quarreling and breaking down, Sa-yeon noticed that Kyujin was not here. He told that to the officer, who searched the security cameras during the morning and found that she didn't leave the building, at least not from the front gate. Sa-yeon decides to check her car's dash cam and finds that its video footage has been deleted. Suspecting her, he tells the officer to issue a search warrant and look for her while trying to recover the video from the dash cam. Just as he comes out of the car, he sees the woman standing there. She asks what is he doing here, and Sa-yeon grabs her arm, asking why did she not come to the scene of the accident even when her real son was involved in it. He asks why she's not crying when doesn't even know if he is alive or dead, and she just jerks his arm away. She says that she has done all of that 20 years ago, when her father-in-law told her that her son had drowned during a fishing trip. She then tells Sa-yeon that now it is his turn to face the same pain and hopelessness she felt all those years ago. Fast forward to 4 days after the accident, and the search for Heju is still going on. Sung-woo and Yuri drive to the site to join her colleagues at the presidential office and her friends from the sign language center to find her. Sung-woo asks where is Sa-yeon, and learns that he just received a call and left in a hurry. He laughs and says, "It's so good to see you again." Sa-yeon is with the police officer right now, who has found some more items, including Heju's phone. He tells Sa-yeon that the probability of her surviving after 4 days is really low, but he doesn't want to hear that. He tells the officer that the search will not stop till he finds Heju or her body. The officer tells him that he couldn't get a warrant against Kyujin because she is the wife of a presidential candidate, but Sa-yeon tells him to try again, because he has a way to get it. At the same time, his adoptive parents are holding a press conference to cover up after Sa-yeon revealed that he is not their real son. Young begins weaving a story of how they could not accept when their son died in a fishing accident, and when they found a boy of his age living near the same location, they adopted him. Hyuk can't accept the fake story, so he asks Young why is his son seeking revenge against Sa-yeon instead of seeking out his parents. Young tries to dodge the question by saying that the allegations are false, but Hyuk has come prepared. He plays the interview recording where Jin talks about the kidnapper. In the recording, Jin says that he first saw the kidnapper outside Sa-yeon's office, brimming with hatred and swearing to kill him one day. He initially thought that he was also a victim, so he followed him around and found him going to the house where the children from the orphanage went missing. Jin became sure that he was a victim of Sa-yeon's serial killer tendencies, so he contacted him and started working with him. The kidnapper fed him a false story about Sa-yeon being the serial killer, but Jin later found out that it was the opposite, and the kidnapper was the real serial killer. As the recording reveals about how Sa-yeon's grandpa used to give the fisherman Jung black bags containing dead bodies to dispose of, Young gets panicked and tells his security to stop the recording. They go to stop Hyuk, but he tells them that it is no use because the police already have this recording. Just then, the police officer barges into the room and arrests Kyojin as a suspect in a murder case, causing a massive uproar. On the other hand, Heju's mom is still grieving over her, thinking how she just wanted her to marry rich and live in luxury. But she never saw her happy even once. Ina notices her breakdown and goes to her dad, asking why is he not doing anything. Just then, Heju's mom comes running there because she saw the news that Kyujin was arrested on murder charges, and everyone begins fearing that it is connected to Kyuju. Meanwhile, Kyujin is in the investigation room, waiting for her lawyer, telling the police officer that she can make him lose his job for arresting her without proof. The officer says that he has proof, and then shows her a clip of her pressing a pillow on someone's face. Color leaves Kyujin's face as the officer tells her that she is not here in for Heeju's attempted murder, but another case. She asks how did he get this video, and the officer signals Sa-young on the other side of the window to come in. Sa-en comes to the room and places his adoptive grandpa's ring on the table, saying that the old man gave it to him a few days before his death. However, he returned it to him thinking it was not right to take it while he was living, and he was the one who put a camera in it. Soon after that, Kyujin came to the old man telling him that he should ask forgiveness for 2 sins. The first was killing her son, and the second was replacing him with his own biological son. She had realized that Se-yun was too similar to the old man, and the way he gazed lovingly at him and showed pride in him, she understood that he was the illegitimate son of the old man. The old man didn't object to this, but he refused to accept that killing the psychopath grandson was a sin. This made Kyujin snap as she choked him with his pillow, and that is how Sa-yeon got this proof. Kyojin asks if he was planning to use the video to avenge his biological father, and Sa-yeon refuses, saying that he was just holding this proof till the day his family's ugly secrets come to light. He asks her to confess now and tell him where is Heeju, because he knows that she has her. Kyojin asks him that even if she has her, why would she keep her alive? She tells him that on the day of the accident, Heeju's car didn't fall into the cliff, and she sent Secretary Min to retrieve her son, and then got him to push Heeju off. Seo refuses to believe that, saying that Kyujin must have kept Heeju alive to torment him. He knows that she would keep her alive and hidden so that he goes mad searching for her, and after many years, when he has accepted her death, she would release him, making him mourn and regret the time they did not spend together. Kyujin just smiles sadly on learning that he has guessed her plan, but at the same time the police department hacks her phone and finds the location where she is hiding Heeju. The officer comes to inform Sa-yeon about this, and they rush to find her at full speed. Turns out, Heeju is being kept in a hidden room in Kyujin's house, and she had told Secretary Min to deal with Heeju and save her son in case anything happens to her. So as he sees the news of Kyujin being arrested, he enters the secret passage hidden behind Grandpa's portrait. He goes to the room where Heeju is being held, but he cannot bring himself to harm her. He frees her and tells her to run away, and after that, he goes to the kidnapper's room. The kidnapper bangs at the door, telling him to open it, but Ming deadbolts it instead. However, Young comes there just then, pointing a gun at Ming and telling him to open the door. He had seen Kyujin signal to him as she was being arrested, so he followed him and found that he was hiding his son here. Young tells him to open the door because he is going to end this story with his own hands. Meanwhile, Heeju is at a fair distance from the house, but as she hears a gunshot, she stumbles and falls on the ground, knocking herself out. Sa-yeon was also in the range to hear the gunshot, and he begins driving even faster to reach the house. Meanwhile, in the house, the kidnapper prevented Young from shooting him, and they begin to tussle over the shotgun. Young cannot bring himself to shoot his son, but that is his final mistake as the kidnapper takes the gun from him and shoots him instead. The second gunshot wakes Heeju up, and soon she finds the kidnapper walking nearby, looking for her. She hides silently, hoping for him to go away, but when she sees a car, she decides to run towards it to get help. The car stops right in front of her and Se-yeon comes out of it. They hug each other tightly and begin to let out their worries in the form of their tears. Se-yeon picks her up and takes her to the car, telling her that they should go home now because everything is over. Heeju tells him it is not over because the kidnapper is here and he has a gun. Just then, the police officer also comes there and tells Sa-on that they will secure the area and arrest the culprit so he can go home in peace. Sa-on begins driving away, but the kidnapper sees him go and steps in front of his car, pointing his loaded shotgun at him and telling him to get out immediately. Sa-eun tells Heeju to stay in the car, no matter what happens, and goes to talk to the kidnapper, asking him to not drag Heeju into their mess. Just then, the police cars come there as well, and the kidnapper tells Sa-eun to not think that he has won. He says that he will deliver on his promise and make him suffer properly, and he is even more determined to do that now because he knows that Sa-eun is the son of his grandfather who tried to kill him. He suddenly gets close to Sa-eun and whispers something in his ears that leaves him completely rattled. As Sa-eun looks at Heeju with tear-filled eyes, the kidnapper laughs, saying this is the face he wanted to always see. Just then, the cops come there and surround them, but the kidnapper points his gun at Sa-eun and then shoots him. Episode 12. Sa-eun falls to the ground and the cops immediately move in to arrest the attacker. Heeju runs outside and begins crying over him, but luckily, Sa-eun survives. However, he goes missing from the hospital without saying goodbye, and Heeju is left tormented by solitude. Sa-yeon doesn't show his face in the media, but he sends his legal representatives to donate all the wealth he inherited from Young's family, and also resigns as the spokesperson of the presidential office. Soon, the matter is fully reported in the news, saying that Heeju returned to her family safely after being held captive by Kyujin for 4 days. The kidnapper tried to resist the police and was shot dead on the site, and this news breaks Kyujin's heart. Yong also survives somehow, and he addresses the media, accepting that his position and reputation was built on lies, but promises to work hard to reinvent himself for everyone who believed in him. He still contests the election, only to lose terribly. Soon, Kyujin is found guilty of killing her father-in-law and helping her son in harming other people, so she is sentenced to life imprisonment. Secretary Min pleads guilty and shows remorse, so he is only given a light sentence of 5 years. Meanwhile, Heeju is completely lonely in her house now, celebrating Christmas with the memories of her time with Saoan. The next day, she goes to visit Jin in jail and asks if he can tell her anything about Saoan's disappearance. He tells her that Saoan used to say that as soon as he brought his family to ruin, he would self-destruct and completely vanish from the world. But then he changed his statement, saying that he wants to live a life with Heeju after getting his revenge. He tells Heeju that there must be another reason Saoan disappeared, and then she heads out. On the way, she meets Park, who is also here to meet Jin. They make small talk and the topic eventually comes to Saoan. Park tells Heeju that Saoan often used to ask him for advice related to marriage and says that despite being clumsy about it, he was sincere. Heeju says that she wants to hear more, and Park begins to tell her more about his and Saoan's conversations. And later, she takes her dad out to eat his favorite fried cutlets, and when the waitress recognizes him, Heeju asks him if he has been here before. He agrees, saying that his son-in-law brought him here on his birthday once. Heeju gets emotional and hopeful on hearing this, and she asks her dad if he has seen Seon after his birthday, but he denies. Later that day, she hears the doorbell and rushes outside hopefully, but it is only Ina, who has come to get Heeju out of her solitude for Christmas. Heeju refuses to leave the house, saying that she will wait for Saeon to come home here. Ina tells her that it has been 6 months already, and he would have come home if he wanted to. Heeju refuses to listen to her, saying that she remembers that he was next to her when she was admitted in the hospital after being rescued. Ina tells her again that Sa Eunyen is not going to come back, and Heeju asks if she knows why he left her. Ina refuses to comment on that, and just asks Heeju to get over her pain and be happy. Heeju breaks down, saying that she can only be happy if Sasu comes back, and Ina can only try to console her. She leaves the house after that, remembering how Sasu called her to meet him at a war memorial one day. On the other hand, Heeju keeps calling Sa-eun's number, but it is not in service. As soon as she is about to get up, she gets a call from an international number, but it gets cut without saying anything. Heeju checks the number and finds that it is based in a war-torn country called Argonne. The next morning, she receives a letter from the same country as well, which is a letter of thanks for donating money to open a sign language school in Argonne. Hyuk immediately goes to talk to Hyuk because once upon a time, he and Seon were war correspondents in Argonne. She believes that the donation was made by Seon and asks Hyuk if he knows anywhere he can be in the country. He tells her that it is a war zone and she might die there, but Hyuk says that it is the same as dying here while waiting for Seon. Reluctantly, Hyuk tells her that Sa-eun is obsessed with sunsets, and there was one scenic location in Argonne that he visited a lot. So Heeju packs her bag and visits Argonne. She first goes to the sign language school, but the principal there has no idea about Sa-eun because the donation was not made in person. She then asks him about the sunset spot, and he tells her that it is under the control of rebels right now, and she will die if she tries to go there. Despite that, Heeju takes the risk and enters the area, and not surprisingly, she gets caught instantly. The rebels blindfold her and put her in a truck with other unfortunate people who ventured in their territory, but then the car in front of them gets hit by a landmine. All the rebel soldiers go ahead to check what is happening, and taking advantage of this, a man opens the truck and frees the prisoners, but he takes Heeju with him, still tied and blindfolded. The rebels see him and start chasing after him and shooting his car, so the man puts Heeju's head down as he keeps driving. He gives the rebels the slip, and once things have gone quiet, he frees Heeju, and as she sees him, she realizes that he is Satyan. He angrily asks her why is she here, when he told her to wait till he comes to get her. Heeju angrily confronts him as well, asking why the hell did he leave. She recalls the kidnapper saying something to him before he disappeared, and asks what was it. He tells her that the kidnapper revealed that it was his biological father who killed Heeju's younger brother, and he could not bear that guilt. Sayon met up with Ina to ask if Heeju knew about it, and when he learnt that she knew, he broke down, thinking that he didn't deserve her. Heeju asks him if he left her because he felt guilty, and he replies that he wanted an excuse to be away from her and punish himself. Heeju asks him how long does she have to wait till he is satisfied and they can be again together. She says that she can't live apart from him anymore, and if he needs punishing, she will do it for him. She then suddenly kisses him, and Sion gives in to her touch, embracing her. They soon reach his hideout and make love all day and witness the sunset at evening. Heeju asks him if he was the one who called her that day and made the donation too. Sion affirms, saying that he called her because he wanted to hear her voice and donated 2 billion won as the settlement fee because he is going to violate their contract. He says that Sion is going to divorce Heeju and then he is going to marry her, assuming an identity that is not borrowed from anyone else. Soon they return to Korea, get married again, and then shift to another house. Their friends come to have brunch with them one day, and they find that Sa-eon has become the most romantic husband in the world. Park is really proud of his character development, and then everyone toasts to their marriage. On the same note, Sung-woo asks them to congratulate him and Yuri too, because they are going to get married soon. Everyone celebrates their engagement, and Heeju and Sa-eon hold hand, looking forward to their happy, married life.